Alright, I want to do something fun today, hey? Let's do a fun little video. I want to have a discussion about the Habs. If you'll remember, in 2018, the Montreal Canadiens selecting 3rd overall, and with that pick, they selected Jesperi Kotkaniemi. And look, Habs fans, I know a ton of you guys love KK, and I'm not going to say my opinion on this one, okay? I don't want to get absolutely torn to shreds here, but you can't deny that it's good to at least have the discussion, and I want to hear from Habs fans in the comments. Do you guys think maybe you should have drafted the guy that went right after KK at 4th overall? It's Mr. Brady Tkachuk. Now, I'm just here to give you the facts, so let me do that for you, and then you guys can have the discussion in the comments down below, and I'm going to be reading it because it's going to be an interesting one. First of all, there's 2 elephants in the room we have to get out of the way right away. First things first, Kotkaniemi is a centerman, and Brady Tkachuk is a left winger, and at that time, Bergevin desperately wanted a cornerstone centerman to build his team around, because in the NHL, you build your team around the middle of the ice. And Kotkaniemi was looked at as a big boy who was mature for his age, who could really play both sides of the puck, offensively and defensively, really well, with some really good offensive upside. Now, is KK a bust? No, not at all, because that's where the second elephant in the room comes in. Tkachuk is only 21 years old, and Kotkaniemi is still 20 years old. This guy can't even drink in the US yet, so it is much too early to be calling him a bust, like I've seen a lot of people doing. And every year, his game seems to take a step forward. Not everybody can walk into the league and be Sidney Crosby or be Connor McDavid. It takes time. This is the hardest league in the world for a reason. Now, that being said, we still have a solid idea of what these 2 players are, okay? Because you can't go from being a third-line grinder to all of a sudden becoming a superstar in 1 year. That's not how it works. You can still get a good read on what type of player you have. Even at 20, 21 years old, like Habs fans, you have to admit, you know that KK is not going to be a 50-goal scorer, okay? We know that. And Sens fans, you know that Brady Tkachuk is not going to lead the league in scoring and win Art Ross and Hart trophies. That's just not who he is. They're both incredibly skilled, great players, but that's just not who they are. And if we take a look at their numbers, let's start here with Brady Tkachuk, the guy that was drafted 4th overall, right behind KK. So in 172 games, 3 full seasons, well, 2.5, he's got 53 goals, 55 assists for 108 points, and 217 penalty minutes. But if you look at his plus-minus category, he has been a big minus in his first 3 seasons. Now, of course, that can be attributed to the terrible teams he's played with. Okay, the Ottawa Senators, they look better this year, but in general, like, look, they're not a playoff team. And for Brady Tkachuk, we know what we have here, okay? Like, look, he's still got a bunch of upside to improve, but we know that he's skilled, he's got offensive upside, he can get you 20, maybe 30 goals, 60 to 80 points max. We know that he's not as skilled as his brother, think of the through-the-legs plays, but that doesn't matter. Because hockey isn't just about skill and talent. It's also about hard work and grizzly bearing your way through the game. And Brady excels at that, just putting his head down and headbutting his way to the net. He fights, he scores dirty, greasy goals, which I love. The Ryan Smith type goal, that's Brady Tkachuk's signature move. And he's got a good shot. Now, of course, he's got to work on his foot speed a little bit, but he still can skate decently, and he has a very good shot. And not to mention the fact that he's a great leader even at such a young age. I mean, the media always goes for him. He always answers the good and the tough questions. He really already seems like the captain of that Ottawa Senators team, and I'm sure Montreal would love to have him. They would adore Brady Tkachuk if he was a Montreal Canadien. Like, knowing Montreal and how rich in hockey culture and how they love their hockey players, they call them les glorieux. That's what they call, like, their hockey players are synonymous with glory. That's how much they love them. Brady Tkachuk would be adored. He would be worshipped in Montreal. It would be so awesome to see. But is that really what the Habs needed at third overall. Because I know there's going to be a pocket of Habs fans who are saying, oh, the team is too small. We need big, gritty, tough players like Brady Tkachuk. But then there's fans on the other side of the ledger saying, look, Jesperi Kotkaniemi is what we needed and what we still need. We need a big centerman who's strong, who can develop every single year and eventually be a Patrice Bergeron type. Of course, not to the same level, but that type of two-way center who's good all over the ice. And speaking of KK, let's look at his stats now. So for him, he really only has one full NHL season under his belt, and that was his very first year, which is 2018-19, when he had 79 games, 11 goals, 23 assists, and 34 points. And now in his career in the NHL, he's played 142 games, he's got 20 goals, 36 assists, and 56 points. So obviously, the numbers are lower than Brady Tkachuk's, but again, this is a guy who's not a Connor McDavid, come in and light the league on fire right from day one. No, this is a guy you have to work with. You got to groom him and let him develop and get to his full potential. We've all seen the photos of him kind of getting stronger and looking more buff every time we see him. So he's still learning how to be a good, strong, consistent, that's the key, consistent player in the National Hockey League. And honestly, right now, I mean, if you look at trade value, it's clear right now that Brady Tkachuk has more trade value than Kotkaniemi. Like, if Montreal went to Ottawa and said, hey, Kotkaniemi for Tkachuk 1-for-1, Ottawa wouldn't take it. But if it was the other way around, I think Montreal might take that deal, especially because they have a guy like Suzuki. I mean, they didn't really know that at the time when they drafted KK, but having a guy like Suzuki right now, this is what I want to know from you Habs fans. Like, if Pierre Dorion, the GM of the Ottawa Senators, called Marc Bergevin right now and said, hey, 1-for-1, I'll give you Brady Tkachuk, you give me Kotkaniemi, what would you say? Because to me, I look at Brady Tkachuk and I see a guy who is going to thrive in the NHL. I really do. He's so strong, he's smart, he's gritty, he's a real playoff type player, and he can put up numbers in the regular season. But Jesperi Kotkaniemi, I see a lot of people comparing him to Alex Galchenyuk, because they both went third overall. Kotkaniemi is way better and has a higher ceiling than Galchenyuk ever had. Because again, think about it. How fair is it to judge a kid who's 18, 19 years old playing against 25, 26, 27-year-old men in their physical prime? How fair is it to judge that kid after 2 years of being 18 and 19 saying, oh, he can't play in the league? Dude, give him some time. But I don't know, I just thought it would be a really interesting discussion because I totally forgot about that. I forgot that it was KK3 and Tkachuk 4, because that just makes it super interesting as a discussion. And like, would Ottawa even have taken Kotkaniemi at 4? Like, let's say Montreal takes Brady Tkachuk at third overall. Who does Ottawa go with? Do they go with Kotkaniemi, or do you go for a guy like Quinn Hughes, who was available at that time? It's a really interesting discussion, and I just wanted to talk about it with you guys. Let me know, Habs fans and Sens fans, I guess, but Habs fans are really the ones here that's going to be really interesting to listen to what you guys think about this, and I still think KK is going to be a pretty good player. Brady Tkachuk is already awesome. And yeah, it's really awesome to discuss this and interesting. And if you want more daily hockey content, make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.